Oh, don't worry, little one. We're going to do great things together.
In moments like this, Shadow Weaver looks as if she actually has a heart and isn't just a cold-hearted, manipulative, calculating witch. But is it really so? Spoiler alert, obviously not.
I've always thought that it's pretty obvious that Shadow Weaver is not entirely evil.
And in my opinion, the only character that is less redeemable than Shadow Weaver is Horde Prime, and he was completely irredeemable, Mr. Fullylover.
Wait a minute, Mr. Scoffer. I won't argue with the fact that Shadow Weaver is an abusive wine mom type, but she's much more than that. She's a great sorceress, and though her means are often terrible, her intentions are not always so bad.
Throughout the series, Shadow Weaver wants two things, and two things only. To grow her magic power, and Adora, because Adora is She-Ra, and She-Ra is extremely powerful. She picks sides depending on who has the better chance of winning, in her not so very humble opinion, and also depending on where she has a better chance of getting what she wants. She only cares about herself. Even when she was Light Spinner and seemed to want to protect Etheria from the Horde, it was actually just an excuse for her to get her hands on dark and powerful magic.
No, I don't think that's true. Sure, even when she was Light Spinner, Shadow Weaver was still greedy for power. But throughout the series, it is shown that she knows much more about magic and spells than most sorcerers. I mean, just take a look at her explaining the nature of Etheria magic to cast Aspella, the top sorceress of Mysticor, at the end of the 5th season. Did you ever think that the correctly performed spell of obtainment could actually be a lesser evil than the damage caused to Etheria when Horde grew in power? If it wasn't just Micah and Light Spinner, if all the sorcerers of Mysticor had united to perform the ritual, maybe Shadow Weaver wouldn't be so damaged, and the war would have actually ended sooner.
You sound exactly like Shadow Weaver. Since when do you support the bad guys?
I don't! But even I felt angry and disappointed with Norwin, who was a head sorcerer of Mysticor, and his reckless attitude with all that "we must leave the war to the princesses. The princesses will defeat the Horde. You worry too much, Light Spinner, humbug." Was Light Spinner arrogant and hungry for power? Yes. Was her plan risky? Yes. But was she willing to take on that risk alone? And was she the only one in the Council of Sorcerers who realized the danger of the Horde and was ready to take action? Also, yes.
Fine. So while being Light Spinner, Shadow Weaver wanted to save Etheria, thus becoming a heroine with powers that would top those of the princesses. Fine. But it didn't stop her from joining the Horde to take her revenge on Mysticor, only to betray the Horde later and get to the Bright Moon to take her revenge on Horde a couple of decades later. And even as Light Spinner, she took advantage of her talented students. She abused Micah's trust and tricked the boy into helping her with the spell of obtainment. She envied his power and coerced him into doing something forbidden, something evil, the danger of which he wasn't able to comprehend. And this pattern never stopped. She did the same thing to Adora and Glimmer. The only reason Shadow Weaver didn't do it with Catra is because she didn't consider her worthy enough, and she never got tired of reminding Catra of that.
I will not get used to mediocrity like you.
I am not trying to make Shadow Weaver look better than she is. She did abuse the trust of her students. She did manipulate them, and that's unforgivable. But have you ever noticed that it was impossible for Shadow Weaver not to have any students? She always needed to have someone to mentor and guide. Someone whose full potential was yet to be discovered. She recognizes talent and can't stop herself from helping to develop it.
Yeah, because she needs to feel in control. Also because Shadow Weaver considers her students to be extensions of her will and powers. She never treats them fairly. She doesn't care what they want for themselves. She thinks that she should be the one to decide what's best for them, and she only chooses what fits her ambitions and needs. The way she hunted Adora down in Season 1 in order to bring She-Ra back to the Horde, exhausting and hunting her, showed a lot about the way Shadow Weaver cares about her students. And without any doubt, Adora was one of her favorites. Think of how she treated those who weren't her favorites. No wonder Catra turned out to be the broken mess she used to be till Season 5.
Shadow Weaver caused a lot of harm to those she kept close to herself. But I cannot say that she only views her students as an extension of her powers and will. Shadow Weaver is very possessive, and she used to be dark inside, even when her name was Light Spinner. But that she did care about Micah and Glimmer and Adora and even Catra in her own twisted way. That's what's both awesome and sad about Shadow Weaver. She hurts what she loves. She can't help but weave people into her webs. And I wonder how it began, because I don't think Shadow Weaver's methods came out of nowhere, which is kind of weird since she was brought up in a celestial place like Mysticor, where most people are so nice. Maybe it wasn't such a paradise after all?
You might be right about that. Power can be reached in multiple ways, and pride can take many forms. And it's odd that Lightspinner was good at manipulating people even before she became Shadow Weaver. Maybe she did have a natural talent for it, but she must have seen the pattern somewhere.
Exactly. But even though her methods were dark and dubious, Shadow Weaver doesn't fake her emotions with her students. We might think that she does, because she's vicious enough. But even before her sacrifice in the end, there were little moments of tenderness. They're hard to notice, but if you really pay attention, you'll see them. The way Shadow Weaver held back with Micah after he left her alone with the spell of obtainment. The way her voice softened as she spoke to Adora. The spell she taught Glimmer, who she viewed as a valid successor to her dad. All these small things show there was good in her. It just got twisted whenever she tried to express it. And Catra got hurt the most, because she reminded Shadow Weaver of herself. And that just might be the reason why Shadow Weaver was so harsh with her until the very end.
This is only the beginning for you. I'm so proud of you, Catra.
Well, why are you so sure that she was sincere in what she said to Catra in the end, Mr. Fullylover? Maybe it was just another trick, another way to get Catra to do what was necessary. Because Shadow Weaver wanted to free the magic of Etheria, and finally realized that Adora wouldn't make it without Catra's support. Maybe it was Shadow Weaver's last scheme going right. Just another part of a bigger plan, conceived by her cold, calculating mind. And even if it wasn't, how can one selfless act redeem all of the horrible things Shadow Weaver did? She never showed any regret for her past actions. Heck, she didn't even apologize. Instead, she was like,
You're welcome.
what a witchy thing to say after everything she put Catra and Adora through.
Well, maybe Shadow Weaver wasn't redeemed. Maybe she didn't even think that she needed redemption. Everyone can have different views on the topic of her death. It's okay, but Shadow Weaver wasn't as horrible as Horde Prime. She had some noble goals, even though she never stopped trying to become as powerful as she could while reaching these goals. Protecting Etheria from the Horde and freeing the magic of Etheria was the right thing to do. She did care for her students in her own Shadow Weaver-y way. She was their dark mentor. She helped them and she hurt them at the same time. That's what made her such a great complex character with gray morality. And that's why her death causes such mixed feelings among fans and among the characters.
I see what you mean. Maybe you're right, Mr. Fullylover. It just seems so unfair that people often keep seeking approval from those who mistreat them. And never mind the intentions or feelings of those who treat them wrong. It shouldn't be that way, anyway.
I never thought you'd be so passionate about a topic like this, Mr. Scoffer.
I have my reasons, Mr. Fullylover, which I don't have the slightest intention of talking about. Anyway, what do you all think about Shadow Weaver? Did she actually care about her students? Did she have a heart?
Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Roar!